3-1 in Daniele De Rossi's return. Yesterday's game was so refreshing. Yesterday's game, what happened in the game, of course, is what we'll analyze today. But I think, again, the emotions, the images that we saw post-game with De Rossi going in front of the fans. But I think I saw a lot of comments online this morning of Genoa fans and non-Genoa fans going that De Rossi shouldn't have done that because De Rossi is now no longer under contract with Roma. Genoa pays him, and that a lot of Genoa fans got mad at the fact that, he lost the game 3-1, and being a Genoa manager, he went in front of the Curva Sud to thank the fans, and I completely disagree, but I'll get onto that into this video. I think yesterday's game proves that even in 2026, in 2 days, this football still has values and principles that you cannot eliminate. And yesterday's game was pure in this sense, just like De Rossi. De Rossi is pure. De Rossi is honest. De Rossi is natural. And that's what makes him, that's what has made him this big. Let's face it. But no, look, a massive win, an absolutely massive win. I think Genoa didn't play a great game. It was I saw yesterday's game as a test against ourselves. I think Genoa were nothing special. I watched the game that Genoa played last week against Atalanta, and I saw a very, feisty, gritty team. I think they were a bit discharged when it comes to yesterday's game. I think we dominated the game. We deserved to, if we could finish even better. I know we scored 3 goals and it's a bit of a surprise. I think it's the first time this season that we scored 3 goals. But if we had a better ability, yesterday's game would have ended 5-0, 6-0. So yeah, a very easy game. Where a lot of players stood out, a lot of players played a great game, but just like I said against Celtic, these are not the games where you need to base your final judgments or your renovated opinions for certain players, because certain players will stand out against these teams, but then when you hire the bar, we've seen it every time this season that a lot of these players do still have a lot of limits. In a few days, we have a big test in Bergamo against Atalanta. That's another big game. It will not only it's the start of a new solar year, so it's very important to kickstart very well, but you need a reaction in big games. Now, I'm not saying that you need to win every big game, but some draws in big games would push us, would gift us points. And in this table where everyone is so close together, a draw at San Siro against Milan, a draw in Turin against Juventus, it makes the difference. So I think the fact that we don't draw games is also a bit of a danger when it comes to big games, because if you don't win them, you lose them, and if you lose them, you get 0 points in all of them, if you get my following. But we'll see what happens in the Atalanta test in a few days. Look, I think where do we want to start? First of all, hit the like button. We're coming towards this is the last match reaction of 2025. So make it a special one. Hit that like button. Let me know in the live chat or in the comments down below if you're watching non-live your thoughts about yesterday's game. I was at a party. I did watch the game, but of course I wasn't analyzing the game when watching it. So if I miss a few things, don't mind me. Because I watched the game, but I probably missed some details and some bits and blobs and stuff. There are players that I want to speak about, and let's start with the players. Let's start with individual performances. My man of the match yesterday, they gave man of the match to Evan Ferguson, and I want credit for that, because the reason he won man of the match, scored a goal, and assisted in yesterday's game is because I sat next to him on an airplane last week. I completely brainwashed him, so I deserve credit for Ferguson's performance as well. No, but jokes aside, there is it is very evident, even if your strikers have got a lot of problems, because Ferguson and Dovbyk have a lot of problems, even with these problems, it is very evident that we play better with a striker. It is. And it's not just the fact that we play better as a whole. By playing with a striker, you put Dybala back in his position, and Dybala in his position is a completely different player. Completely different player. So, I think from now on, whether Gasperini likes Ferguson, likes Dovbyk, whether we sign strikers in January, which will be the case, you need to start with a number 9. Especially in big games, especially when you face very physical defenses, what's the point of starting Dybala or Baldanzi as a false 9? Like, it's like signing on a piece of paper for your death. It's like signing up for something that will inevitably never work out. So, one of the big things that yesterday's game proved is this. And I said this last week, not last week, a few days ago when speaking about the Juventus game. Ferguson had to start the Juventus game. I don't understand why Ferguson didn't start that game. And I'll add more. I don't understand. Well, ironically, you could say that it worked on his favor. Ironically, you can say that due to the fact that Gasperini bashed Ferguson played a great game yesterday because, he hammered him. Gasperini said it very. He couldn't have laid it out in easier terms. He either wakes up and fights for his place, or I will start with the false 9. So Gasperini was very clear ever since the Juventus game ended, in the press conference before this game a few days ago, very clear. Ferguson wants to start. Ferguson needs to eat the pitch up if he wants to start. Because if I need to start with Ferguson, who doesn't give an absolute crap, of Ferguson with a bad attitude, I'm not starting Ferguson. And Gasperini has laid that out very, very clear. Whether that's a message to the board, whether that's a message to himself, you can say that it worked. Because yesterday, he was alive. I saw an alive player. Attitude-wise, scored a goal. Not a goal that you will remember, but he scored a goal, provided an assist. He did his job, and he got given man of the match. But my man of the match is Manu Kone. Not because he scored a goal. I felt bad for De Rossi yesterday. I was at this party, and there was, I don't like, if you're at a party, I don't like just sitting down and watching the game. But there was a group of people that were watching the game, and I heard Kone. And I was like, oh my god, I feel so bad for De Rossi. Kone never scores. The day he plays against De Rossi, he scores. But going back to the goals that we scored and the goal that they scored, I think all the 4 goals in yesterday's game were very lucky goals. Suli's goal is a good goal, but it comes from a Genoa mistake. Kone's goal comes with a half deflection. Ferguson's goal is a literal deflected tap-in, and the goal that they scored deflected on Pizzilli. I mean, what are the chances? 3 out of 4 goals yesterday were deflected goals. Not special goals, but a goal is a goal, of course. But going back to the man of the match, Manu Kone. Kone, again, I love Kone when he plays like this. When he's so dominant against Genoa, against Verona, against Parma, even against Como, these teams. It's great to see. What we're missing is that Kone to be that dominant in big games. And I'll tell you something for free. That's one of the reasons why in big games we shit our pants. Because Kone's not dominant. And whenever you face Napoli, Milan, Juve, Inter, who have got better midfielders than you, if Kone doesn't dominate that midfield, you'll lose. You will lose every duel. And if you lose every duel in the middle, you lose the game. So I think what Kone needs to do is, to improve even more, is 2 things. Understand big games better. Understand the tempo in big games better. Understand how important it is for him to be dominant in those big games as well. Now, being dominant in those big games doesn't necessarily mean, as I said, scoring a goal. But it means using that body well, using that, low block. You get my point. In big games, I see a player who still ghosts a bit. Okay? To make that jump, he needs to understand the moments in big games better. And the other thing is something that we've been saying ever since we signed this guy. Scoring more goals. One of the reasons why he's less dominant in big games, which then connects to the fact that you score less goals in big games, which then connects to the fact why maybe other midfielders have got a better killer instinct than you, is because he is somebody that very rarely scores a goal or creates a chance. And for a midfielder in 2026, you need to score goals, even if you're a defensive midfielder. That's not his job. I absolutely agree. Kone is not there to score. Kone is there to transition, to tackle, to get the ball. He's a defensive midfielder with an element of a box-to-box. So Kone is not there. Kone doesn't have to score goals. If our strikers score their goals, Kone can even not score. But to be placed in the rankings to be placed next to a Scott McTominay, which maybe isn't a good example because Scott McTominay is a completely different position than Kone. But the likes of Anguissa for Napoli, who else? The likes of Barella at Inter. What, in my opinion, differentiates these players to Kone at time of speaking is the fact that these players score and Kone doesn't. But this is something that he can improve. And by improving this, he needs to invade that box more often, just like he did yesterday. The reason he scores yesterday is because he invades the box. If Kone uses that movement way more often, he would score more goals. And if he scores more goals, not only it's great for us, but on a personal level for him, it's also better. Because if he starts scoring more goals, then he can be placed on the best midfielder in the league debate. Up to now, he's a very good player, but not like Barella, not like Anguissa, because these players also decide games and big games. Okay? So Kone very well yesterday. Dybala. Let's speak about Dybala because I not bashed. I said this last time. If you think I bashed Dybala, you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. Bashing a player is different. I try to be real with myself. I try to be real. I'm in a phase where I'm growing up and I'm maturing on a life level and real, but also on a football level and how you see football. And one of the things that maturing about football does to you is that you start to care more about the team, more about the badge, and less about the individual players. And this is something that is part of the life of a supporter. If you're young, you have a bigger affection for players. You may cry if they leave your club. You may really want them. When you grow up, you're more about the team and less about the players. So that's definitely an element to consider when it comes to my analysis of Dybala. But I try to be real with myself. I try and answer a question, which is a question that everybody should ask. Can this club afford a contract extension for a player that I have never doubted? I am the first one, and I still insist on the fact that on a pure technical level, Dybala is still the best player in this league. If we're speaking about purity of football, if we're speaking about technique upon the 2 feet, Dybala has no rival in this league, even now. But just like everything evolves, football evolves. And football is evolving in a game which is becoming not only more physical, but way faster. And so I go, despite that technique, Dybala can't expand on a physical level on a rapidity level because that is who he is. Okay, so I'm like, can this club afford a contract extension? No, it can't. Can this club get players who are more rapid, who are more physical in this game if they dilute Dybala's contract this summer? Yes. And all of this in a scenario where we're less dependent on him. So I think he played a great game yesterday. But again, it shouldn't have been a surprise. It shouldn't have been a mystery that Dybala put in that position can still make a difference in these games. And I'm the first one to say that against these teams, Dybala still makes a difference. Absolutely. Because his technique prevails. But when you hire that bar, when you face Napoli, when you face Milan, when you face Juve, when you face Inter, even when you face Como, these teams, Bologna, and in Europe, which is, in Europe you play fast, you play physical, Dybala no longer makes a difference, and that's the truth. So against Genoa, against Verona, against Parma, against Sassuolo, against Verona, against Genoa, he plays well, he dominates because his technique prevails, because the other team isn't good technically. But this is what I said at the start. He played a great game, but you can't ask for a contract extension or a player to stay just because he plays a great 90 minutes against Genoa. That's my point. And I think it's very wrong and dishonest to say that he still makes the difference in bigger games, because he doesn't, and that's the truth. So that's my view on Dybala. But again, I don't want to mix this with hate because this is not hate. This is not hate. And I'll say something about Dybala. You know what the most emotional image of yesterday's game was? Paulo Dybala with his lucid and teary eyes staring at Daniele De Rossi thanking the Curva Sud at the end of the game. That image of De Rossi going in front of the Curva Sud, Dybala in the background literally almost about to cry, seeing De Rossi there and seeing the whole stadium going Daniele De Rossi, oh Daniele De Rossi. That frame is a frame that should be distributed to every football club, because that frame shows to you that this sport still has values and principles. And that further proves to you that Paulo Dybala loves this team more than people expect. Because you get emotional at a fact that doesn't involve you. And that's what makes it special. Dybala got emotional yesterday in a moment that didn't touch him. Dybala got emotional yesterday because, having been here for 4 years, 5 years, whatever it is, he understands what this team is about. And he understands that this team is about that. That this team is about Romanism. And that this team is about loyalty. And that this team is about passion. And understanding that for this club is the biggest success. But going back to the defense also played well yesterday. Very, very well. Soulé played great. Apparently his injury is not major, so that's good news. Defense played great. Ziolkowski played a great game. Hermoso played a great game. Mancho played a great game. Zvelor, let's be honest, I think that should have been a penalty. That punch on Ostigard, I think that should have been a penalty. Maybe not a red card, but it definitely should have been a penalty in my opinion. But that just proves to you that, I'm honest. Whether it's Roma or non-Roma, I'm very honest. These referees are shit. There is no balance about referees. So, yeah. But ending the stream, going back to what I was saying at the start, I completely disagree with those Genoa fans, or those fans, Lazio fans, of course, because they always need to speak about ourselves. All those fans and all those people that go that what De Rossi did at the end of the game yesterday is a disgrace, because he lost 3-1, and despite having lost 3-1, you go in front of the Curva Sud, get all the thank yous and the claps with a Genoa paid by Genoa and with a Genoa coat on. And I completely disagree. I completely disagree because, as I said multiple times, I hate false moralists. I hate false moralists in general, and especially in football. And you know why I hate this? Because if Genoa had won yesterday's game, and De Rossi would have done that, Genoa fans would have gone, "Oh, let him do that. Let him do that. What can we expect? Of course he can do that." But due to the fact that you lost yesterday's game, and due to the fact that you played shit in yesterday's game, and due to the fact that you got annihilated in yesterday's game, you're pissed, and so you don't accept the fact that your manager, who has been very honest with you in the press conference in saying that, that's his club, that's the club that he has dedicated his life to, and most importantly, because I think there's a step that Genoa fans maybe don't understand, but we that are Roma fans altogether definitely understand. Remember how this man got sacked. Not only in the most ball, but having sacked him like that, you didn't allow him to say goodbye to the fans. And I think in yesterday's it's not a farewell, but in yesterday's moment in front of the Curva Sud, they zoomed in De Rossi's eyes. And there were two things that you could have read from his eyes. Number one, the frustration from the game. The frustration because he understands that his team played terrible. And then his objective is safety. So you can tell, and honestly, you can rewatch, because I'm not just saying this to defend him. You can tell that when he went in front of the Curva Sud, he was very frustrated about how he played and how his team played, and took all responsibility in that post-game interview. But number two, and maybe it's exactly that moment that made Dybala emotional, that made the players, wait for him and clap him. It's exactly this. It's the fact that whenever he got sacked last year, people said lies about what these players told about him. And it's also, I think again, from him, it's saying that, a goodbye that wasn't given to him because he was sacked in that way, but for the players waiting there, clapping him, enjoying the moment as well. And I take the example of Dybala because Dybala, 2 more minutes and he would have cried. It's also, in my opinion, an image saying that group was very unified. That group of players was the most unified thing that the universe created, and that one woman, Lina Soluku, destroyed everything. And what has been said post-game, but what was said post-sacking about what happened and how the players didn't want De Rossi was all lies. And I think that moment was pure because of this reason. Because, again, in a world where everyone speaks, you never know the truth. And that group of players was behind that man. And that group of players loves that man. And I am convinced that one day that man will be back, sitting on our bench. So that's the way. But again, I disagree with people and fans that go that he shouldn't have done that, because it means not understanding. You can't hear me? I don't think we can hear you. What? You can't hear me? Have I been rambling to my wall for the last 20 minutes? Is it good? Is it bad? Anyways, I'm almost done. What was I saying? Yeah, it's like not understanding what Roma means to him and what we mean to him. So grow up and deal with it. Let me read a few comments. It's just lagging. It's just lagging every... Oh, hang on a sec. Let me try this. Hang on a sec. I'm just gonna use the microphone from my phone for these last minutes, and then I'll reconnect the microphone tomorrow or in future streams. Hopefully you can hear me well now. Okay, let me read a few comments. Bit off topic, but yesterday I saw a clip of Baschirotto. I mean, is this guy playing the right sport? Felt bad for De Rossi. Happy New Year, Simo. Wishing you and Roma all the best on 2026. Thank you, mate. You too. Seems like a trend. Gasp talks shit about Ferguson and then plays him, and Ferguson performs. Odd, but somehow working. I think he's been performing well ever since that Cremonese game. With a little miss in that Napoli game where he played terrible. But ever since that Cremonese game, I think Ferguson has played way better. Do you think Fergie stays as a reinforcement? I will say I'm glad he's on the score sheet, but I think his effort does upset me at times. I think it depends on who we sign. It depends a lot on that. But, I mean, I can't see him leaving in January. He'll definitely leave this summer. We will never trigger that clause. But I don't see him leaving in January. Yeah, Genoa is not an amazing team. They are a pretty bad side. You cannot erase history, and you cannot erase the Rossi emotion for this team. People who have a problem with that cannot think outside of themselves. Okay, hopefully the audio is fine now. But yeah, guys, I mean, end of 2025. What a year it has been. A year that began in the most horrifying moments ever, picked up by Claudio Ranieri, saved by Claudio Ranieri, and then picked up by Gasperini, which has done an incredible job up to now. Roma ends 2025 as a solar year with the team that has collected the most points, and we hopefully can and need to build on that in 2026. But it has been a pleasure living this year with you guys, covering Roma games, vlogs, match reactions, press conferences, previews on a regular basis. I, sometimes take a day off, apologize. A few years ago, I was a bit more consistent on a daily basis because I was at school and stuff. I've got other things as well in my life. But yeah, I try as always to keep this community strong, keep this community big, and it has been an absolute pleasure to live this year with you guys through ups and downs as always, moments of absolute tantrum, moments of absolute glory and joy, and cheers to us for sticking along, and hopefully we can have a very similar 2026. I'm going to try and do a live tomorrow, just an end of the year chat. But otherwise, if I don't, for some particular reason, I want to wish you and your families and your friends a wonderful New Year's Eve. And yeah, love you guys. Hit that subscribe button, like the video, and hopefully you enjoyed this match reaction. I'll speak to you soon. Simo out.